Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. We have a very big day today. The last 24 hours have absolutely sucked with price action. We have been stuck in just really this $300 range. It's been like an absolute nightmare to watch. So fortunately, we're going to see a lot of volatility today. There's going to be a massive breakout to the downside, to the upside, a lot of liquidations. Basically, a candle that looks something like this, and then we'll probably range in there, and price will figure it out from there, right? So I drew this and shared this earlier today. Basically, if price can kind of get acceptance above here, then maybe we'll have a little bit more of a move up to higher resistance. Otherwise, it just like it kind of drives me crazy. I understand, what's going on here. Liquidity is for the positive delta in the zone is starting to dwindle a little bit. Funding rates are largely bullish. I'm not surprised to see that we're going to be getting this move up. It's just for me, like what drives me crazy. And again, after spending the last, year and a half or whatever it's been in down only mode and also range, right? We've been in a range for almost a year, quite a while. When I see all of this, and all of this, my mind immediately says, well, we need a sweep. I don't care how deep the sweep is, but we need to sweep some of these lows, right? Now, whether we like get this move up first and trap some more longs or whatever it might be, and then sweep down, maybe it's not even that low. Maybe we just get more of a modest move to this level, and whatever it might be, we'll take a look at some of those key zones. But when I see this, it's just like it's hard for me to, reprogram my perspective on this and think, yeah, we're just going to keep going up. Right. But I mean, if we, go over here, this is our weekly chart, and you look at this, not to say that this is what's going to happen per se, but you could see it's a lot of just up, there were some corrections along the way and, whatever, but it's all pretty modest, right? So like when we see something like this, maybe we simply do have continuation, then putting off sort of having a larger looming correction, right? So you can see as price got more volatile, these corrections we got to this point and we had, a pretty significant correction to the downside here. Again, this is bull market territory. I don't think that we're necessarily stepping into that, but I do think that we're going to see a lot more upside from where we're at. Now the question is, will this week's candle, will it look something like this where it comes down a little bit more at least, right? Or is the low in for the week and we're just simply going to, continue to the upside, and then maybe the following week, see a candle that kind of, comes down a little bit, something like that, right? So we're going to take a look at some levels and kind of talk about this. I spoke a lot about Monday stream was really, really great. It was really informative. And if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go back and view it, just at the very least to take a look at the Elliott waves that I did for this area here. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to keep this all very, very brief. And later today, I will post a recap where I will actually go into detail. I'll try to sort of recap Monday, today, and then whatever price action we get post FOMC meeting, right? To kind of wrap everything up and give us something to look forward to for the rest of the week going into next week. So, stay tuned for that. And for the time being, I'm going to, like I said, I just want to keep this more on the brief side for more reason than one. Ultimately, I would really like to, maybe take some trades today too. So I do want to be able to do that and to monitor some price action here, but really my analysis hasn't really changed a whole lot because quite literally nothing has happened on the charts. So if we go back here, originally it was looking to, I believe this is exactly what I drew. Where is it? This is what I drew here. I was looking for a move down and then a back test. And, we can see that we got something like that here where I was going to look to enter a short. And as you can see, this really hasn't played out, right? When you have a wedge, you do want to see a move down and then a back test and then continuation of the downside. You don't want it to see it to go sideways more and then, look to go higher, which by the way, this zone here would act as a really nice resistance today. As we come back up, this may be our resistance zone where we can then actually start to see some degree of a retrace. So you're going to want to keep that level in mind if you do have this wedge drawn. If you don't, I encourage you to draw it. On the other hand, this was something else that I drew on Monday, and I called this one the evil plan. And it was basically, and I talked about this, was that I'm sort of looking at going sideways out of this wedge. I basically thought to myself, what would really mess people up, right? Well, a lot of people are probably looking at this wedge here, and they're thinking to themselves, okay, cool. I'm going to trade this wedge just like the green path that I drew out, right? Like this here. Cool. I'm going to trade that. And they think that price is going to go down, so they short. And what happens is, well, price sort of continues up. Of course, it didn't exactly play the range like I thought it would. Instead, it came down to here and then played this mini range. But nonetheless, I sort of expected it to consolidate out right around the FOMC. We get this, basically this wick to the upside, maybe up to here, who knows? And then, from there, we then kind of get this sweep that we've been looking for. For me, this sounds kind of stupid, but if price were to come down, if price were to sweep first, I would say, cool, we can, maybe look for a long position. I may expect a little bit more action with the FOMC, to the upside. But in this case, I really, I don't know. We'll probably get a candle that looks, something like that. You know what I mean? We'll get, that's actually a really nice representation. I would say that, let's see, what time is that at? 1, be 2. Oh man. That was so close. Probably get a candle that looks something like this. um, and then from there, price is going to sort of consolidate and then either have a continuation to the upside or to the downside. We've seen this happen so many times. Honestly, this is like this whole data release shit and like waiting for the FOMC meeting to see any volatility on the charts is getting it's getting to be pretty painful, right? It's just I look forward to when we can just have some volatility and we don't have to sit and wait for some PPI or CPI data or unemployment rates or this narrative of following the Fed and all of the data that they analyze in order to determine whether or not there's going to be another rate hike or whatever it might be. It's this narrative it's starting to get a little bit old, right? Seeing all of crypto Twitter become experts on the Fed and macroeconomics and XYZ. I genuinely look forward to sort of moving on from that. If anything, just to experience a little bit more volatility. And again, I understand that liquidity is drying up, and that's a lot of the reason why the Fed is looking to do what they're doing. So anyway, this would be something of what the candle I'd be looking for today. I would sort of look at this zone as being my high. We do have a weekly up here. If you did want to look to trade that, you could definitely do, something like this, putting your stop up here. And, really just I would start with targeting, the bottom of the channel, and then, maybe a little bit further down to this untapped daily level here, and possibly even down to this fair value gap, right? And we can take a look at some liquidity in order to sort of dial in where we want to look. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so we do have some liquidity. Where is that at? 25, so about 26K and 26 for about 500. Let's see here. Where is that on the chart? So 26. Yeah, so about the top of this fair value gap, we do have this nice bit of liquidity here, right? So that may be a nice target for that low. I also think, let's take a look here. If we go to our, see the 21 4-hour, no, let's go here. That's at about 25K. I don't think we'll sweep that low. Oops, that's not what I want. And then of course, yeah, so the 25K zone is a pretty nice support. I don't really want to think that we'll go that low just yet. Yeah, so on an hourly time frame, we do have some moving averages that coincide with that zone nicely. It's not really the kind of confluence that I would want offhand, let's say. What I do like is this. So we have this nice daily fair value gap here. We can see that it held a support here. Oftentimes with these fair value gaps, you'll get, a wick down like this and a closure above, and it'll kind of continue to do that for a time. And it'll hold this area of support. With a fair value gap, what you would expect is similar to a CME gap, where you would fill it and then, get a move down to the bottom. And having these nice fake outs, but sort of holding it, at the top is a really, really nice bit of support, especially when you're in an uptrend. So I really do like, doing something like this where, we can scoot this over and basically we see some kind of a wick to the downside closing above here, each and every time, and then, possible continuation to the upside. Depending on how long that takes, right? We could be looking at, next week to finally put in that low. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. We could see, I mean, we really could see a, let's see here. We really could see, we get this candle, and then price sort of comes down, consolidates here for a time, and then we get our weekend range. CME, maybe we open up and then we get this move down, or maybe a little bit sooner, right? Maybe we look at getting down there and start wicking sort of in this zone, so getting this kind of a move here and then coming back down, putting in our weekend range, and then getting this move down here to which we can hold this as support and then kind of get that move up, right? So that's something that we can keep in mind coming up here. I do like something along these lines. I mean, generally speaking, I really do expect for the FOMC to sort of resolve to the upside, as in like, taking out some of these highs here. Taking out, of course, both the highs and the lows, but I do see sort of a larger retracement to the downside before getting continuation to the upside. And I guess here, since we're looking at it, we can bring up our wave 2 retracement and look at what that level is at this point now. And I really like the 0.5, and we don't necessarily have to get down there, but yeah, the 0.5 is see where the 382 is. So the 382 is right at this zone. This is a really, really big zone of support. This right here is a super big support zone. But again, like I'm not too crazy on going down there. Let's look at the 236, which I don't use very often. So the 236 aligns really, really nicely with, with our sort of our target here, our initial target. Otherwise, if we were to break down through there, I'm pretty confident we would go, down to this level here to grab this bit of liquidity. And, this area is a pretty massive bit of support here. So I would expect something like around here to hold on maybe a daily time frame or whatever, but I would expect some wicks to the downside, or at the very least maybe a deviation. But for now, I think it's pretty safe for us to, dial in here. Understand that we're going to probably see a candle that a candle that really does look something like this. Let me see how big this candle is quick. Maybe I really overdid it here. No, it's a 5% candle. Yeah, that's fine. I would expect something like this. So if you're, long from here, okay, great. I would set some take profits. If you're short from here, well, you might want to well, you may get stopped out. Now here's the thing. There's quite a bit of time before the meeting. So to be clear, I am personally short. I have not a great entry because I entered over here, missed my take profit here, and basically I laddered in a little bit more here. I kept it at about 50%, so my entry is, somewhere like right in here. So it's not a great entry. It's not a position that I'm particularly happy to be in right now. Hence part of the reason why I'd really like to keep this short. But one thing I will say, like this to me doesn't scream breakout. I wouldn't be surprised if there's still a lot of time between now and the FOMC meeting. Let's see, we have 3.5 hours. So I guess it's not crazy. We could range a little bit here or whatever, but I mean, it would be nice to, if we kind of got this move back down here or whatever the knee-jerk reaction would be. It's tough to say, right? We don't. Well, here's what we don't know. Is it right at the FOMC meeting, right when the rate hike comes out? Is the first move going to be up or down? Is the first move going to be up or down? So, like for me being short here, if the first move from here, let's say it consolidates here, if the first move is down, I may be so lucky as to get out before it comes up. Now, me personally, I've always thought it would go up first. I am anticipating that we're going to probably get this move to the upside first. Now we do have the previous range val here. Let's take a look just briefly where the point of control is on this range. I just want to have that as a nice backup level to the upside. Hmm. Look at this range, by the way, that we're in right now. Look at how well it was respected in the past. So that range was actually formed here, and now we just have it extended over to our current price action, right? It's pretty cool. I really like to see stuff like that. Just goes to show how well respected the levels are. All right, let's go back down to an hour. Yeah, man, I can't believe that I have a hard time believing that we're gonna pump into the FOMC meeting. Like, if we just go to, we go here and we look at the volume of this pump, it's just like, it's not a breakout. Price is quite literally just floating up, right? It's not meeting any sort of resistance. And I imagine the goal in floating up like this would be, if we go ahead to our heat map and we look at the last 12 hours, we can see these are generally the areas that get wiped. So, 27,150, 27,725, 28,600, 28,625, about 29,200. So that candle I showed you, if you look basically 27,150 to 29,200, and we look here, okay, that's about 29,200 to, just shy of 27, right? Just above 27. 27 would bring you down here, 27,150. So you can see, like, if we were to wipe out all of the liquidity from the last 12 hours here, right, we can see that this is, these are the spots, right? These would be your zones that you'd be looking at. We'll go ahead and take a look at the 7-hour here. Yeah, or I'm sorry, not the 7-hour, the 7-day. And yeah, I mean, this is exactly what price is going for right now, right? It's going to basically grab this liquidity at, at the very least 28,500. No surprise there. We've been generating a lot of liquidity to the upside there. We also have quite a bit lower here that we have marked on our charts as well. This liquidity goes up to about 29,150. So again, like that to me, this area here, this is generally where I'm going to look to short if we do get that wick to the upside, very much where I'm going to be looking to short. I'll be curious to see how this all resolves. If price doesn't, take the highs a little bit beforehand. God, I just don't know. Like this choppiness, it's honestly with the volume that we're seeing and everything right now, we could just sit in here. I mean, we could just quite literally just sit in this range for a while. But I would very much anticipate a move to about that 29,150 zone. And, this is where I would look to short with my stop above here and look to trade it back down, at least to the bottom. So, you could take profit at the top of the range, the midline, bottom of the range, the daily here. And then, you can trade it down to this area of liquidity too if you'd like. I think that any of these places would be a fair spot, depending on how often or how many times you like to have a take profit set. Funding rates, I mean, virtually neutral. DYDX obviously has an extremely positive funding rate, but they're a smaller exchange. The ones I really focus on are, Bybit, OKX, and Binance especially. So, this isn't too indicating to me, but this is pretty damn positive. So there's a lot of people opening long positions here on DYDX. Let's see here. So we just barely took the high on this chart. No, not quite. Yeah, not quite. Oops. Did not quite make it, but we did take this one out here. Now, again, on a different chart, this one being KuCoin, for example, we slightly took the high, right? Let's see here. Maybe just by a little bit. Yeah, by like $1 or something like that, right? Barely at all took it. Okay, so I want to show you guys one other piece of analysis here. I'm gonna go ahead and hide some of this. Somebody, it was Bilbo, who pointed this out in the Discord. It's a great channel. What's really interesting about this channel is I've been following this wedge, right? I'm gonna go ahead and hide all this stuff here. This is a really important trend line. I'm gonna keep that up actually. So I've been following this trend line here, and he shared a channel that was, basically here. And I said, hey, extend that down to the bottom, and I'll bet you it's the midline. And sure as shit, he, basically took this trend line, and now we've turned it into a channel. If we go ahead and take a look at this, this is a really nice channel. You can see how well that midline has been respected, and when the midline is lost, we would typically expect to move, to the bottom there. So if we were to look at sort of the time frame on that, be looking, we sort of have all of this coinciding support here. So at the very least, we may be able to get a good scalp out of this zone. I do want to see, so untapped daily, we have this trend line, which is basically the top of our previous macro range that we were in, if you guys recall. So that's the top of that, which would be a nice back test. Or otherwise, if we were to go here and close back below, that's a deviation, and we would probably see a little bit more downside. Otherwise, if we go ahead and back test and sort of hold this area as support, we could maybe see at the very least a little bit of continuation to the upside before maybe more downside, or maybe it just simply continues, right? So this would be another really key zone to keep an eye on, right? Sort of this area here where it all kind of comes together, whether in this side or next Monday, depending on whether or not we're going to see some action going into the end of the week here, or if it's going to be postponed into next week. Go ahead and hide all that. Let's go ahead and, actually, I have it right here. So this is that previous channel that I was telling you guys about. Of course, this is the fib extension version of that channel. I can go ahead and I'll just draw it as is. Okay, so this is that same channel. Basically, if we don't get that extended, wave 2, we could simply, back test the channel here, which, would put us, around that 26,600, 26, sort of the mid 26,000s, right? And if we look back here, at those, I know this is a pretty busy chart. We can go ahead and hide some of this now. But if we look at those mid 26,000s, we can see that there's a lot of what we talked about, is sort of happening in that zone. We have that nice pocket of liquidity, this fair value gap that I said we could hold as support. We also have this daily that maybe we could either deviate, reclaim for us to look for a long trigger, or, we simply wick below on a daily time frame, but we hold the level. So it's a couple different things that we can look at there. But nonetheless, I think that zooming out and looking at this, at this range here, I wouldn't be surprised to see it back test and hold, right? So this, if you don't have this marked on your charts, I highly recommend that you mark it out on your charts and, have it as something to keep an eye on. Let's see if I have that on this one. I'm confident I do. Yeah, so this is that same channel now drawn on this chart. If we go ahead and hide some of this stuff here. you know, you can see that it's in a pretty nice place to maybe see something like this, right? And then possible continuation to the upside. You know, and it can coincide too, you know, with this previous zone. So it's something we'll have to keep an eye on as well. I'm honestly I'm pretty interested to see where price is going to lead us. We have our two key pockets of liquidity. You know, we know our levels and our zones that we can look at for support. And from here, to be totally honest, I from here we simply just have to wait and see, you know, what happens and ultimately trade the fallout, right? Again, you know, looking to the upside for that short position, and you know, to the downside, sort of looking at these a couple of these key zones here, where you know we can look for a possible long. For me, I'm not going to blindly long. I don't think that we're going to go down there, and you know, I don't think it's going to be something where we get a move down and then it's immediate just straight up. You know, as I always tell you guys, we usually get a move down and then maybe back test the 618. And this is where we can look for our entry with our stop below here, and it'll consolidate a little bit, market structure change, and then we can go ahead and trade it up. So I'm not going to do any knife catching. I'm going to be very patient on that. With the upside, with the move to the upside, if we do see that with the FOMC meeting, I would be a lot more keen to take. I don't want to let on there. I'd be a lot more keen on this short position than blindly longing down here. I would rather wait for a setup here. And honestly too, if you wanted to, you could wait for this to come up, and then you know we can do a fib retracement or whatever to the low or something, and then you can look for that retracement to you know, the 618, enter here, and then look to trade it down with your stop above here. Absolutely, totally can do that. I would definitely be more okay with entering a position here if we come up and we start to wick at this area. I would be fine with opening up a short with my stops above here. I wouldn't be as phased to do that. Like I said, I'm not as interested in like blindly longing down here. I would rather look to see, you know, some little bit of consolidation, maybe back test 618, look for some kind of a setup, falling wedge, bullish divergences, etc., and then you know look for a position to trade higher. At the very least, having grabbed some liquidity or holding some level as support. Okay. I think we'll leave it at that, guys. We've been going for about 30 minutes here. I think that's great. I'm going to do a market update later today. That you guys are very welcome to, you know, check out. We'll do like a you know, we'll do a maybe a 5-10 minute recap, going over whatever price action that we see with the FOMC meeting, reviewing a little bit of what we talked about here this morning, and then especially reviewing also on Monday, talking a little bit about sort of this, you know, the Elliott wave, and kind of getting into a little bit more detail with what we can expect, and hopefully, if things sort of go according to one of our plans here, hopefully we'll be positioned, you know, looking for some kind of a move. But yeah, I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. I mean, if we just take everything off the chart here, you know, for the most part, I just see all this, like, in my eyes, it's begging to get swept. But again, you know, like I said, I've been trading a bear market for the last year and a half, where it's been down only, and it's been in a range. And you know, when Bitcoin gets going, it really does get going, right? So you know, maybe we do just simply see continuation to the upside. But, you know, for now, I'm just simply going to trade the charts and wait to see what FOMC brings us, and I'll just trade the fallout of whatever happens from there. All right, guys, we will leave it at that. Going to wrap up here. Let's see how I do this here. Going to wrap this up, and like I said, I'll be in the Discord all day if you guys have any questions. We can talk a little bit about some of the price action or whatever does happen with the FOMC meeting if you guys have any questions about that. But in the meantime, if you're not in any trades, great. I encourage you to stay that way and simply trade the fallout of whatever's to come with the FOMC. If you are in trades, I would encourage you not to micromanage it. Taking a loss does suck. Do not get me wrong. But you know, it was a trade setup that you took. You put your stop somewhere in the first place, and 9 times out of 10, moving your stop higher or trying to save yourself from a loss, you're going to end up losing more than you would have initially. So I do encourage you to practice, you know, some of those safe trading practices. Look at this. There's that liquidity grab. All right, cool. We'll see you guys in the Discord. Enjoy the rest of your day.